Hello and welcome to another edition of PM Champ's PMP exam preparation tips. In this video, I am going to talk about ITTOs. If you're not familiar, ITTOs stand for Inputs, Tools and Techniques and Outputs. In the PMP examination, there are 42 processes. For each of the 42 processes, there are inputs, tools and techniques and outputs. Most people really get worried about memorizing the inputs, tools and techniques and outputs for each and every process. And this leads to anxiety in the exam. First of all, the 42 processes itself is a big number, and memorizing for each process what are the inputs, tools and techniques or outputs can be quite daunting. You know, as working adults, our memory is not as sharp as kids. Therefore, if you miss out something, if you forget in the PMP examination about any particular ITTO, it leads to more anxiety, more worry, and rather than giving any sort of comfort, we actually get into a panic mode, which impacts our other exam answering other exam questions. Therefore, I personally recommend not to memorize the ITTOs for the PMP examination. A better way is to understand how the different processes fit into each other. If you look at it carefully, the output of one process becomes the input for the next process. So if you understand how the processes flow into each other, then you are easily able to flow through. So if any process is given to you, think, what comes before this? What will lead to this process? That will become the input. And what goes out of this process? Who will use the output of this process? Which process will be next? Based on that, you will be able to come out with the correct output of this process. For example, in the scope management, the three processes that are normally naturally flow down are collect requirements. So what is the input for collect requirements? Collecting the requirements from the users, from the customer and the clients, going to them, interviewing them, or using groupthink techniques, collecting the requirements. What is the output? The requirements documentation. The requirements documentation is then taken and it goes as input to the next process, which is define scope. In the scope definition process, we refine and define what is in scope, what is not in scope. What is the output of define scope? The final scope statement. Once the scope is defined, we proceed to the third process in scope management, which is to create the work breakdown structure. Create WBS takes the scope and breaks it down into the detailed work packages. So if you look at it carefully, the three processes flow through very easily from one into another one. And therefore, you don't have to memorize the inputs, tools and techniques or outputs. If you understand the flow, especially for the planning processes, they are done in a particular sequence. I have done a detailed video, and in our PM Champ PMP coaching workshop, we actually go through a detailed video and step-by-step instructions on how to go through and understand the ITTOs for the PMP examination. So if you have the time, if you'd like to join and accelerate your preparation for the PMP examination, of course I'll encourage you to join the PM Champ's online PMP coaching program. If you are not able to join, definitely go over to pmchamp.com and subscribe to the PMP examination tips. These are free, and on the website you will also find a lot of resources, simulation papers, mock tests, books, best recommended books for the PMP examination, and there is a forum where you can ask any question. You will find hundreds of like-minded PMP aspirants working on the PMP forum, asking questions, answering questions and taking part in the discussion. So it's a very good vibrant community of like-minded people who come to pmchamp.com and help in the goal of achieving their PMP certification. So straight away go to www.pmchamp.com, and if you have any questions, you can write to me at pmchamp@pmchamp.com. All the best.